You got in trouble, sit on your hands and chill out. I'm not touching anything. I already heard enough. You could bring it outside and charge it, and then come back in a moment once it charges after 5 minutes.
You ladies are beautiful.
I'm
Just beautiful.
Listen, put my mask on.
It does smell good in here, though, right?
It smells
really good.
Sherry. It does,
Right?
right?
It smells like shit.
smells yummy.
It's nice and clean.
You know,
And
everything's recording, right?
Oh. You said you're gonna tell us when to shut up.
Start.
Welcome to the Sistahship. Wow, isn't that a powerful theme?
Yes, it is.
The
yes,
Sistahship.
it is. Yes, it is.
And we are all here and glad that you are joining us today. And I'm going to briefly, I'm going to introduce myself and then allow all the ladies to introduce themselves. And then we're going to move back on into our dialogue for today, which is all about personal transformation, the process, our own experiences, etc. And we'll just let it flow from there. So I am Deborah Kofer, a.k.a. Mama C.
And I'm Sherry Knight.
And I'm Kalima, a.k.a. Lady K.
And I'm Tiffany Cole, Bling.
And I am Daisy Rodriguez, a.k.a.
Simply Daisy. Oh.
Isn't that awesome? I mean, you know, as I look around and I see you phenomenal, beautiful women, you know, and I know some of your stories, and I've had enough interaction with you to understand who you are and where you are and your process of life. It's just a beautiful thing because we can share each other's story. We can talk about our own transformation, you know, where we've been, where we are, where we're trying to go, and then we can kind of support each other in the process and help each other to grow, because I think that that's what it's really all about. We're here to help each other. Unfortunately, I think far too many of us don't understand that, and as a result, you know, a lot of craziness begins to happen. But I think for those of us who are where we are and understand the process of womanhood, sistership, and growing forward, the interaction we have with one another is just beautiful, and I'm just feeling that I'm getting goosebumps right now just holding on to that thought. And you know, we were talking pretty extensively before we began the show today about personal transformation. And you know, Kalima, I don't know if you saw in my eyes, but I felt like I wanted to cry a little bit, because you know, when we think about where we've come and where we are and what we had to do to get from where we were to where we are, as we continue the process of growing forward, that's a process.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people don't understand it really is, and we have to take a part in that process. You know, too many people just let themselves be drugged through the muds of life, thinking that that's life, that's existing. And so I want to throw a question out there. I'm not even quite sure which way to begin at the moment, because you all have such fabulous stories. Sherry, can I start with you? Tell us about your transformational process from when you were a young girl to the phenomenal woman you are today.
Wow.
Right, in like 30 seconds or less.
Well, you have to think, I grew up in dysfunction, which some of us, majority of us that are walking now actually have.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
But in the process of it, I had to teach myself and learn things on my own. Not that it was okay, but I think it made me stronger.
Absolutely.
And in the process of it, I was taking care of my siblings since I was like 9.5, 10 years old. And I did that up until I left my mother's home. So I know how to be a mom. I know how to be a wife. But at some point I realized that I didn't know how to be me. I didn't know who I was. At the point when I decided that I was going to change is when I realized I was having effects on the lives that was growing around me. The young ladies that were coming to talk to me, the young males that were coming to talk to me. I realized that my voice was being heard, even though it never felt validated.
Right.
And in the process of it not being validated, I had to realize that I was still being heard. So I was the example. And once I realized how I was the example of those that were around me, I had to make sure that I knew no matter what I was doing, I knew that somebody was watching. And in that, I have successfully helped some young people change their lives, which even today, when they still say thank you, I don't really always know how to take it, because it's like, well, that's what I was supposed to do. In my mindset, as I was growing up, I used to hear, it takes a village to raise a child. And so I had one young lady write me a card, and I met her when she was 12. She's a phenomenal young woman right now. She's in her mid to late 30s. And she had wrote me this card, and I literally was in tears. She said, had it not been for you and the path that I was going down, I probably would have had 3 or 4 different baby daddies. And nowhere. Now she has her PhD. And she's actually a guidance counselor, guiding people and guiding young minds and lives. So in that, I learned that I was valuable, that my voice was validated, that my opinion and my thoughts were a big part of me. I thank God for the wisdom that He gives me. He allows me to speak with wisdom even when you're just having a basic conversation.
Right.
A friend of mine, she was laughing at me when I turned 40. I was ecstatic. I reached 40 though, but I didn't feel like I was a grown woman until I hit 40. And when I hit 40, I didn't have to want to be young. Like in my 20s, I was still young enough to hang out with the teenagers. And then when I was in my 30s, I was still considering myself young enough to hang out with the 20-year-olds and, the kids. But when I was 40, it was like, okay, now I need to be around the grown-ups. Let's see how the grown-ups affect my life.
Right.
And the change in my life. I realized that a lot of my life, I was expecting things from the outside when it all had to come from the inside. So in my transformation, I learned how to be with myself.
Absolutely.
So I told a couple of my friends, I would go out for lunch by myself, breakfast or dinner. I would go to the movies, go grocery shopping, clothes shopping, just be out on my own exploring. And conferences. And I had one lady say to me, "You're not uncomfortable with that?" And I had to tell her, I had to learn to be with myself.
Absolutely.
If I didn't enjoy my company, who would?
Right.
And in that is when I realized that I was a grown woman.
Oh, absolutely.
When I was able to be in my own skin and in my own place, in my own time, and start taking care of me.
Yeah.
Mental health is huge. And for those of you who don't know, it is a very huge part. It is selfless. As selfish as it may seem, it is a selfless thing to take care of yourself and your mental health.
Absolutely.
So for me, those two particular acts are part of how I transformed and grew and am growing, because I continue to grow every day.
See, that's why we call her Lady Wisdom. We call her Lady Wisdom,
Absolutely.
a.k.a. Lady Wisdom.
Absolutely. And I think that, when we realize that we are important and that we have a role to play on this planet we live, in this life we live, it made such a difference in how we move forward, or I like to say grow forward, because I think a lot of people are moving forward, but they're not necessarily growing forward.
Right.
And so they're missing a lot of life that they need to experience in order to grow from level to level to level. Like I was saying earlier, when you're 20, you're not doing the things you did at 10.
Right.
When you're 30, you're not still doing the things you did when you were 20. Well,
Prayerfully.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of people don't realize that, you know. And so, you know, and when you're 50 and 60, you know, you're not doing the things when you were 20 and 30, you know. If you have grown with the process of life, if you have gained the experience that also gains you the ability to have more wisdom. And like I said to you earlier, God doesn't give more wisdom to someone who is not ready for it or not know what to do with it, you
Absolutely.
know? So, you know, I think it's so important. And as you kind of chronicled your transitional process, it sounds very much like my own, you know. I mean, I grew up in a very dysfunctional family, and but I had to make the decision whether or not I was going to survive it or succumb to it.
Absolutely.
And at age 19, I decided that I was going to survive and even thrive, you know, and whatever that meant, because I had no idea, and there was no parents to go and ask or anyone to just bond with so that I can understand certain things that, you know, I think I needed to know. But, you know, like you said, it made me stronger. The things I went through, because I was determined to grow through them, to get through them, and grow through them, and be a better person. And, you know, at 66, I'm still doing that. I mean, things still happen to me in my life.
Absolutely.
You know, and a few weeks ago, something happened that really kind of knocked me for a loop. And I really had to step back for a little while, and I'm still kind of stepping back so that I can regain my sensibility about the situation, you know? And I think that I think people think when you get to be a certain age, life is hunky-dory.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
It's not.
Every
It's
phase
not.
of life comes with its own challenges, and how we deal with those challenges determines the depth of our ability to say, I've grown.
Right.
You know, I'm aging with grace and style, and I'm gaining the wisdom I need to continue to grow in a healthy way, you know. So I can commiserate with you 1,000%.
I just want to add, for those that are listening, let us be clear. It doesn't take decades to see change in yourself or choose
Right.
change.
Right.
You could change in
the
your
right
time,
way.
and it's really your timing on when you change.
Absolutely.
But if you find yourself coming out of a situation that has been toxic for you, the best thing for you to do is to make sure that in your change, you remember that toxicity and you don't turn back to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
And
I
that
think-
way you can recognize that, you know.
Absolutely.
Also recognizing when you are growing, because when COVID hit, I was standing outside of my job, and I said, "Oh no, not again! I'm not going to do this again." You know, everybody was being laid off. 9/11 flashed, and I said, "I can't do this again, being laid off." And then something said transition, growth, and I said, all right, no, I'm not going to do this again. What do I need to do in order to evolve and move forward? And since then, I've just been working. I've worked harder now than when I was working for somebody else.
Yeah.
And that was growth. And I've been up for weeks, hours, just putting stuff together, preparing stuff. The Sistahship talk show. It just came from nowhere. Just the back end of it, putting everything together, putting the kits together, putting all of the process of the show together. You know, starting a business, you know, that was something that I needed to do. Because I said, I can't do this again. I need to figure it out. And you feel that growth process.
Absolutely.
So knowing when it's time to transition, and also knowing when to step away from something. Because I was 9 years old, okay, I was also a nail artist, and I'm still a nail artist, but you have to know when it's time to transition. So now my time is, I'm in my 40s, my eyes, I'm like, oh, where's my glasses? Give me, where's my glasses?
Right.
It's time for me to train the next. It's not for me to be on nails hours and hours. I can't do it anymore. So who can I pass it on to? So there's a lot of children that want to learn how to do nails. So it's now time for me to transition out of there, and everybody says, oh, no, but that's your skill. That's your hobby. You need to, not a hobby, but you need to continue doing that. And I can, but on another level.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think some people think that they have to do what they've always done forever. You know, I've had several different, I've grown from, I started out as a medical transcriptionist. Then in 6 months, I became an executive secretary. I skipped Secretary 1, 2, and 3 because my skills were that good, and the director of medical records needed an executive secretary. I was it. And from there I moved on into being the special assistant to the president of the hospital. And then I went back to college, got my bachelor's degree. I designed a women's wellness program for the hospital, the first in Harlem. And then from there I went on as the director. I developed all kinds of programs for women in the Harlem community, really, and beyond. And so when I heard this voice one day say to me, "You better leave here, you're going to die."
Wow.
And I thought it meant physical, but I heard that voice, like I was saying to you, where I heard one in the middle. Yeah, I heard that voice, and so I knew that it was time for me to leave. After the president of the hospital had died, he's a male who died from breast cancer.
Wow.
1% of men do die that do get breast cancer, and he was one of the ones who happened to die from breast cancer. He was not a smoker. He worked out. He ate, pretty well. So here I am at a phase of my life, and I'm like, okay, I created this job for myself. They allowed me to do that. I love it. Where am I going? But I knew it was time to go. And I think there's a saying, we stay at the fair a little too long.
Right.
And it's true. We do stay in positions that it's time for us to pass the torch.
It's usually because we get comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
The foundation for our house where you should have pitched a tent. And I was like, she's like, Daisy, you're supposed to pitch a tent in certain places and then just wrap up your tent and keep it moving.
And keep it moving.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
absolutely. So I knew it was time for me to move on. And let me tell you, it was the scariest 3 to 4 years of my life because I had no idea, where am I going? I did work as a consultant in several hospitals for a little while, and then we moved here. And when we moved here, I was in the full-fledged in the middle of a massive breakdown. And my doctor realized that. She sent me to see a psychiatrist who she said, "You'll love her and she'll love you. You two will be able to mesh well. I think she'll be good for you." And what had happened, what I realized, once she put me on the medication, from all the stress I had held in since my childhood had literally caused a chemical imbalance in my brain. So I was on the medication for about 6 months. Then one day, I knew I didn't need it. I came off it. I've been okay ever since. But you've got to follow that intuitive voice inside of you. I'm not telling people, if you're listening, that you're on medication to stop it. No, I'm not telling you. But use good common sense, And I'll go even further. I like to say, you've got to have that God sense within you. You got to be connected to know what it is you need to do at any particular time during your life and throughout the course of your life. If you're blessed to wake up every morning, that means you still serve a purpose.
That's right.
So you got to understand what that purpose is, and then be willing to step fully on that path. Now, everyone thought I had lost my mind when I left that. That was a job I had created for myself. I was making buku bucks. I had been.
I was one of them. I said, this lady
they're
done lost her mind. Yeah, I think I was like 17, 18, and I was
you were
working.
older than
Was
that.
I older?
You were older
And I was
than
working at the hotels.
Yeah.
I was a manager at the hotels as well. And I was like, man, this lady done lost her mind.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure it out. And I was living by myself at the time, and she was living in the co-op. And I'm like, man, what is going on?
But that does tell you that money's not everything. And
absolutely.
people get caught up in your position. Your position does not define you.
That's right. That's right. And your job, your degrees,
Right. None of
your
that.
titles, none of that defines who you are. And unless you have a good sense of who you are and you feel a connection to yourself,
Right.
you're going to be lost all the time. You know, you're going to wander. So I signed those papers when I heard that message. I was sitting at my desk, and I heard it so loudly. I called out to my assistant at the time. She didn't respond. Then I called out to my health educator. She didn't respond. There was always someone in that outer office. But God wanted to make sure that I knew it was God talking to me, you know. So I signed those papers, got up, walked over to Human Resources, and I resigned. And I didn't know where I was going or what I was going. I just knew that it was time, you know. But I never lived my life based on fear. You know, I think fear stifles a lot of people and keeps them from getting on the path of their purpose. And let me tell you something. From the time I designed the women's wellness program at the hospital where I worked at the time, I just knew that I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. When I walked away from that job, somehow, even though I was not very pleased, I had to give up my car. I had to, I sold my mink coat. I sold my co-op. I didn't know where I was going or what I was going to be doing. I just had to trust. I had to have faith, much bigger than a mustard seed. Trust me when I tell you that. There was just a faith that I had, and I just knew, and I didn't know how I knew. I just knew it was time for me to move on, but I didn't know what to. But the bottom line here is we've got to trust ourselves. We've got to trust that gentle, loving voice that we hear. I mean, I don't respond to any voice that says to me, "What you doing over there?" or want to yell at me, or "Why you doing this?" or blah, blah. No, see, God is a spirit, and you got to understand the spirits. Okay, and how these spirits communicate with you, and which spirit you got to be able to
Identify.
know which spirit is God from all the spirits, And once you learn that, I think you can feel a little bit more confident about your moving forward, and then you learn that you're not just supposed to be moving forward. This is a growth opportunity. You're supposed to be growing forward. But then you're like, okay, well, where am I growing to and how am I growing? There's a lot of questions you will have, but you don't need to take those questions to anybody outside of yourself. I take those questions to God in prayer, every day. And I think that that's so important for us to understand that, there is a force, there is a power within us that we can turn to and trust at all times. And look where we are today. I mean, and I've been able
Daisy's story.
And Daisy's story, oh my God.
You could tell us about that. Let us know what's going on.
Yeah, hello. I remember when I first met Daisy. Wow.
Deaconess Daisy.
Deaconess Daisy.
Oh no, yes. I remember too.
Deaconess Daisy. You could not say Daisy. You had to say Deaconess Daisy. I'm like, oh my God, this child is lost in the sauce.
So you understand. That was the Holy Spirit of God, right? I needed that too.
Oh my God.
And I was always covered up. Remember that?
Yes,
Oh my God.
Lord.
My hair in a bun, like I was jumped like straight out of Pentecostal school or something like that. Like,
I remember because I think I had something on, and she was like, "Why you got that on?" I think it might have been something short. And she was like, "Pull it up a little bit."
now I'm just like, I need to breathe.
You feel free now. I was just going to say, it's a freedom like you've never experienced.
Yeah, it's interesting. And to think it was like only, 4 years ago,
Wow.
maybe.
But what got you there?
What's
Got me from
Tell us what got you from
from
one
Daisy. So
From Deaconess Daisy to who you are now.
But now she's simply Daisy. We ain't doing deaconess. We don't do that here.
no. I've been
Let's drink some water.
retired and all of that jazz. I'm simply Daisy now. And it's funny because I took that on a couple of years ago, but it still didn't fit me. Like I started a company calling it and everything. I knew I was simplifying myself, but I was doing it because people saw me as being bougie and unapproachable. I'm like, no, I'm really simple actually when you speak to me. I'm like honesty, transparency, love. I'm loyal, so I expect you to be loyal to me. If you can't be, that's okay, but you got to keep moving because you're blocking me. And I could say that with solidity right now, but there was a time, look at Mama C laughing, that I used to just like hold my tongue with everything. Where to start? I mean, you know, when I came into being, my mom had me at 14. I don't know who my birth father is, and I could say that very proudly and loudly right now. There was a time that I used to skate around that, like, ooh, now it's just like, yeah, I don't know who my daddy is. You want to be my daddy? You got a Christmas gift to get, put me in your trust. I need a daddy. As a father figure, okay? Father figure. You always wanted a daughter? Here I am. I'll call you for your birthday. I'll send you Father's Day cards. I'll even take pictures with you.
Really, Daisy? Oh, Lord.
But there was a time that it was because my name would be different from my sister's and my brother's name. So when I went through the divorce, they asked me what name do I want. I was just like, why do I have a choice? They said because in school I had my name as, it's good now?
The phone's on, just turn the volume down on the phone.
Okay. I had my name as Daisy Diaz, which was the man that my mom was married to, my brother and my sister's, well, my phone is off, right?
It's good now.
Oh, it's good.
It's good. Everything's fine.
So I would have the name of my siblings. But when we went in, she was like, your birth certificate says Daisy Rodriguez, father unknown. And I was like, oh, now everybody's going to find out my shame. But it wasn't my shame. That was my mother's shame. I didn't do nothing. I just showed up being Daisy. So I remember sitting in the car. It was pouring rain outside and making the choice what last name I was going to take. The facade of Diaz or the reality of Daisy Rodriguez, and I never legally walked the planet as Daisy Rodriguez. And then claiming to the world, no, I don't know who my father is, and I'm okay with that. So within that, I started to move differently. There was a freedom in, like, I don't have to explain myself. My mom is deceased. Every now and then people are like, do you want to find your dad? And I'll go through the process. And I'm like, no, he knows I'm alive because he went to the hospital. You know, so I'm not really interested in searching for somebody right now when I'm still within me.
Right.
That being said, since that happened and stuff like that, and I started a nonprofit for women, children, and men to find their voice through love, integrity, and validity. And the validity is your self-validity, not outside validity. Sometimes we expect people that have no valor to validate who we are.
Absolutely.
And we're looking at them to say we mean something, and they're not even worth 2 cents. You know what I mean? Like, they are living a life that is not transparent. They are living a life of I call it muddiness.
Muddiness.
Yeah, like they're stuck in mud.
They're stuck in mud.
And but they're telling you from the place they're at, because now I'm a lotus, I came out the mud. Their mud mentality. I'm like, but you're still in the mud. I could love you because I know you're going to come out of that. But I got to go over here because now I'm with the sun with my other lotus flowers that have blossomed. And I got other things to do because I'm flowering.
Yeah.
You know, and in that, I found that, true with the titles, as with deaconess, there was also that shame that people would know, because when I filed for divorce, that was like divorce and deaconess. That, yeah, you can't. Not double D's here. And
deaconess.
And it was just like, oh, they said something else politely, which was not true.
Of
you know,
course.
something else like politically correct in their vision, in their way of seeing things. But really, that's what it was. And then afterwards, getting titles like I'm a nurse and I'm a holistic practitioner, doctoral student. I have all these other titles, and they become heavy for me. Because then people see me with these expectations. So now we have me as just simply Daisy. What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Sometimes I gotta smile. sometimes I got a little giggle in me, or sometimes I'm just within myself, and I'm assessing what you're
Love
trying
that.
to tell me.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
just very
Love
simple.
it.
I love watching you blossom.
Thank you.
I mean, the glow in you now. There was no glow in you when I first met you.
I know, I looked at the pictures, I was really pale.
Yeah.
Like almost like liver failure pale. That's a nursing joke. I really wasn't, but it was like my organs were failing on me because I wasn't breathing, I was holding my breath, therefore they couldn't get oxygenated, so you saw it. Because I was small, you remember, me and Sherry go back, I was like a size 4, size 6. Then all of a sudden, within like a couple of months' time, I just started becoming masculine, like heavier very quickly, and that's because I was starting to carry the weights of the world on my shoulders. And I was holding everything in.
Your cross was heavy. Your cross was heavy. You were about to get nailed to that cross.
Girl, you ain't lie.
You know?
The cross, the box, what else we had going on? You know, like Jack in the Box every time it would pop up like Daisy, and I would right back in and you play the music.
Yeah. I remember that, Daisy. I remember when I first met you. I was like, okay, Deaconess Daisy?
Deaconess Daisy.
I was like, yes.
I was like,
What would you like to
Yeah.
You know, it was almost
But
like
even your laughter has freedom.
absolutely,
thanks.
absolutely. And you know, I think the more we share our stories, the more we give others permission to even acknowledge their stories, because it's your story, and you know, you don't have to feel any kind of way about it. You can feel free. You can be released, you know, from the shame or the guilt or the sorrow or the whatever you're feeling. I mean, I know for years myself, I felt ashamed of what had happened to me in my childhood.
Right.
I felt ashamed, and I felt it was my fault. You know, and it wasn't until I was 19 when I kind of threw it out to my mother and what she said to me, and I said to myself, it wasn't my fault.
No, absolutely.
And so I had to forgive my mother and my father at that moment in time. I was 19, so that I can grow forward. I just wanted to move on and find a life that I loved and a life that had purpose. And I think that that's so important. Once we discover that, you know, you don't have to find it. It's right there within us. You know, sometimes we're searching out there somewhere for a life, but true life begins in here.
I could tell you, I did this program called Momentum, right? And if anybody knows, I'm very competitive. So I walked into the room, and there was a banner say, what do you think that you don't know that you do know, that you don't know that you did know, something like that, right? I was like, oh, that is a Daisyism. Okay, they're speaking my language.
Daisyism.
Okay. And I sat there, and I saw that they had different levels. I was like, oh, I'm going to become a master within a couple of months. I'm just going to do the whole program. And the person running it was like, yeah, we kind of, because Deaconess walked in, we kind of see that, too. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to do the program, right? Because, you know, you have basic, then you had advanced, then you had leadership, then you had mastery. Now, normally people take years. I'm like, no, I'll knock that out in a couple months. My name is Daisy. I come and I conquer. So then I'm there with that mindset, right? Let me tell you, they were like, ha ha ha. So when I got to advanced, I had an experience, and it was a thing of ways of being, and it's talked about different titles. But who are you truly being? Because people like to use that phrase, ways of being, and I used to use it all the time. But then it was like, it goes deeper in. Who are you being with yourself?
Exactly.
And having that reflection talk. And then when I did leadership, we had to do this thing called ropes. It was like 20 degrees outside. We're in the middle of upstate New York. It looks like, you know, from the scene from Batman. Like, I'm thinking like, oh, is Batman going to come out the cave? I'm like, ready. Like, what's happening now? Where's Christian Bale, right? It was like we were out there in the boonies like that. But there was things set up.
Right.
And they were like, okay, so what you got to do, you got to climb that pole, which was a telephone pole. Stand on the top, turn around, and jump. There was no net underneath you. You had to trust the ropes of those who had you. And that's when Daisy realized I did not trust people would catch me if I fell.
Yeah.
And I'm still dealing with that. So when I went up there, though, I could tell you it wasn't the climb to get up there. Cause you know, as you climb, you're like, Dad, my butt is really heavy. Like I got a lot of cargo picking up. You know, but then it was like I had to breathe, because really I was just like, it was, you know, the people that were lighter than me, they were nimble going up. but they missed the point of it. It wasn't how fast you could get up. It was being conscious of every step to go up. So the ones that got up there and went and they like, and then out the leaders were like, you missed it. You want to do it again? You missed it. So when I got up to the top, and then the part was to turn around, and I stood there. I didn't want to jump because it was so peaceful for the first time in my life, because it's a telephone pole. It was a little higher than a telephone pole. They call it a pamper pole. And there's a little plate that your feet barely fit on it. So you got to like inch your way around to go forward. I didn't want to jump because it was so peaceful. The noise finally stopped in my head.
Wow.
And I was like, I need to be able to duplicate this on the ground.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And then when it was time to jump, everyone was like, jump, jump, jump. I had to wait for it within me, and I was crying when I jumped because I didn't want to leave that piece. When I was scared to go forward, it just felt so good in that. So what I find now in my life that I can duplicate it now with meditation, taking myself out,
Right.
And it's not that I even take myself out, I'm living.
Right.
So people like, oh, you go out and stuff by yourself. It's not that I'm going out, I'm alive. Like I gotta eat, breathe, dance, exercise. Like I understand it now. And if someone wants to be my companion, I'm doing it amazing. Yeah. And I prefer that, but if not, it's okay.
Yeah,
to be alone, it's okay.
Absolutely. And I think that throughout the course of our life, there are going to be things that trigger us. And when I talked about something I went through a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to a male friend, and he said something to me that triggered something I never thought I still had issues with. And it was an issue of being rejected and abandoned.
Oh, yeah.
Because I grew up feeling rejected and abandoned, and I thought I had put all of that to rest. I didn't realize that was still a weed that was strangling the life out of the garden of my soul. And so once I realized that, I'm telling you, it hit me like a bomb. I had to back off from him. I had to back off from everybody. I mean, people know that I'm always on Facebook. Haven't seen me on Facebook much over the last few days or so. I just had to back off, and I realized that I still have rejection and abandonment issues that were still kind of trying to choke me. But because I understood that, then I am now empowered to deal with it in a way that is healthy for me, and I'm aware that I still have that. I think awareness is very important.
Well, I was going to add to that. I remember when I discovered that, and a friend of mine from years ago said to me, "You're like the runaway bride. You want to abandon anything before it abandons you." And I was like, wow.
You do that.
And I do that.
And you even do that now sometimes.
Yeah,
you try to, and I'm like, Daisy.
But it's to preserve myself, because there'll be so much nonsense going on, that I don't need to be part of all of that. The text of that, the text of this, and the text of that. So now, I would check out. Like I was done. I'm done with this job. But I was done. It wasn't like I'm checking out from a text message. I'll read it later. It was I was out, totally out.
Yeah.
And because I was always being loyal, so I thought being loyal to myself. But what it was is that I would just leave the situation because I didn't want that person, those people, to leave me. Now it's more like a flow. Like, well, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Right.
May it be my job or something like that. Because you remember, Sherry, I used to have traveling nursing, right? I used to have a different assignment every couple of days for nursing.
Right.
You never knew I was working. What hospital you at? What hospital you at? What hospital you at? Because I never wanted to sign a full-time contract with a facility, because I never wanted someone to tell me Davy was fired. I was in control of my own time and my own money.
Right.
Now that I'm matured, like you said, in my 40s, I like having a pension and a 401k and all that. And then I do my side hustle with my businesses as an entrepreneur now and everything in my late 40s.
Right.
But again, it's my choice.
Absolutely. And I think that's important, and having that triggered me a few weeks ago, it just made me understand that there may be some other things still hidden there that have not been triggered yet.
Right.
But I'm prepared. It's part of the growth process. You don't automatically just grow up and everything is dealt with. It doesn't happen that way. Over a period of time, things come up that we learn we need to deal with. And then we have the choice.
And
you know,
then
to do that.
sometimes that's why certain things are repetitive, and you're trying to figure out, well, why does this keep happening? Because you have not faced it, you have not dealt with it, like you said, you've been running.
Correct.
So it's like, when are you going to take
Right.
the opportunity to stop running
Right.
and just analyze what's going on and
deal with
tackle it?
And you wind up attracting people that will do it to you over
Yes.
and over
And over
again.
and over
Yes,
again.
Because you have to
Exactly.
deal with that. Now that I'm at this place, abundance. Like, I don't really stress, and I'm always filled with a joy that no one can tap. I could be going through
Absolutely.
stuff, but I'm just like, girl, you don't even know what I'm going through. I'll be giggling, like,
Right.
because I'm at that place where I'm not going to abandon Daisy.
Right,
So all is well.
That's the ultimate, that we don't abandon ourselves, that we embrace ourselves, love ourselves, and know that we have the ability to heal ourselves.
Right.
But we've got to turn inward, not stop looking for other people to fill in the gaps.
And that's when you realize your own power, though. But see, a
Absolutely.
lot of
Right.
people have not tapped into their own power, and that's part of the reason why they're still running.
So I want to, we need to hear Kalima's story as well.
Yeah.
And we want people to call in. It's 3 o'clock, and the number here is 888-304-4401. So you can call in and speak with us. And also, if Kalima, you can give us your story as well, and the listeners can hear what you've gone through as well.
Okay, so honestly, to me, I love saying this, that my story always starts with these three powerful women that's in my life. And that's my mother, my grandmother, and my aunt. You know, I never tell people I got raised in a single parent household. I like to say multi-generational, because my grandmother raised me while my mother went to work.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love the fact that whenever I came home as a child, my grandmother had the food ready in the kitchen. You smell it. You felt the love there. So I can say one thing about that is, like, there was love in the home. Like you said, too, everybody always have their little dysfunctional. I saw that, too. But looking at these three women in my life for so long, I piggyback what each one brought, because they did bring something good and they taught me something valuable. But then I realized when I was getting over, maybe in my early 20s, I was still struggling with myself. And I did like some of the things that they carried and they gave me, but I was like, nah, I don't like that part. I don't like that part. Definitely don't like that part. I ain't taking that with me. I'm gonna leave that
So you have
there.
to fix
But
those
it's still
things.
me going on. Like you said, when you don't know who you are, you're attracting all different type of people. My dating life was horrible. The children of my father was horrible. And I'm like, oh, I don't like this. And then I had to sit back to myself, why does this keep recurring? I had to deal with it. So when it came to the surface that, I was about to go through a divorce, that's when life really, really
Got real.
start for me. I'm like, what? You don't want the match anymore? You don't want me? And then my ego stepped in. So you're saying no to me? Nobody says no to me. That was something that I had to realize, that was some selfishness in me. It's only because of what I saw. And I didn't realize that, and I kept saying, I don't want that, but you carrying it. So I used to hate when my mother used to yell, and then I realized when I got older, I did it to my children. So I said to myself, if you want to break generational curses, it starts with you. You got to stop that. So I had to, and what you say a lot of people don't like to do, this mental health. I had to put myself in therapy and check myself, but I was ready. And when my therapist released her, she said, you know what? She said, you know why your transformation didn't take too long? I said, why? I said, why? She said, because you wanted it and you was ready. She said, you know how many people that come into my office, they don't want it yet, and it takes them years to get there. And I was like, well, yeah, I had to, because I realized I'm the common denominator if I keep having the same issues. And I want to know, when do you actually take the time to realize you're part of the issue? Because we swear we're not toxic. Yes, we are. We have toxic ways. Yes, it's me. But I dealt with that. And once I did, but like you said, I had an encounter with God myself, and that was an amazing experience. And once I allowed Him to reside in me and work through me and in me, then you saw, even my family saw it. It was like, wow, so you're not yelling right now? For what?
Right.
I had to learn to control my temper.
I got a question for you, Kalima. What was one of the generational curses that you decided to break? And the reason why I asked that question, because one of mine was the way we eat.
Yes.
Okay? So one of my slogans is drink water and stay focused on your health. And a lot of people know I run a group called Our Health, what is it? Smoothies with Love.
Right.
Our Health Matters. And then I also do a private groups where I train people on how to detox. And a lot of people, take it for what it is or different. They don't understand. Some of them miss the whole concept of the green smoothies.
Right.
And the whole thing is discipline. But people miss it. Okay? And they're like, oh, we're just drinking green smoothies.
Right.
No, but the
that's
whole
not it.
concept is the discipline
The discipline.
that a lot of people miss because they're focusing on just drinking for the 10 days. Oh, oh my God, I got to drink 10. Oh, she want me to drink another green smoothie. Here we go. They completely, that's why I like what you said, because they completely miss that you need the discipline, and it trains you on the discipline as well.
Absolutely.
So what was one of the generational curses that you decided to break? Because mine was health.
Right.
Right.
Learning to teach my children how to eat differently, because of course we got some good food in here now, and we still cook because we throw down when it comes to cooking. However, we've learned to train and eat differently. Like I'm keto, so there's certain things that I don't eat. Daisy is vegan.
Right.
Sherry did the 10-day green smoothie with me, detox. I had a couple of people who did it and said, heck, I missed it. It was the discipline.
Right.
In it. You've done it with me. Your mom does it with me.
Exactly.
She does it. She's done keto. So we all, it's about the discipline. So my whole focus is health. That was another growth spurt for me where I transitioned from nails. Okay. I was also a manager in hotels. Couple of different hotels in the city before 9/11. After that, I had my own business doing nails. I mean, I've done a lot.
Right.
But I wanted to transition. So now I'm transitioning to training children how to do nails, but also going into being a nutritionist, also being able to help other people understand the process of changing their health for the better. There's certain processes that I've done. I talk about it more when you take a class with me. So not everybody knows the whole process, but there's a lot of women out here who I've helped go through the process of changing their eating habits. So what is one of the questions, or I'm sorry, my question to you is, what did you decide to change?
Okay, there was a couple of things, but one of the biggest thing that was so big for me, because like I just told you, I saw 3 single women in my life. I said, I want to make sure that I'm married. I said, I am not going to raise my children by myself. Marriage was so big to me. It was, you don't understand it, because I saw my friends, and then growing up, I love Family Matters, and I love the Cosby Show, so I had that image in my head. Ooh, marriage. So when it did happen for me, it was beautiful, but then now I'm going headed to divorce court. I'm like, this is not what I asked for. But what I realized, what I did, I was just so conformed on just focus on just getting married because I wanted to break that generational curse. I wasn't prepared enough to understand what marriage comes with. See, we be so ready to jump in like, I want it, but you're not even prepared. So now that I went through that transition, I understand now sometimes you have to have the foundation of the relationship. What I saw growing up, the toxic, and not to throw anyone under the bus, but I saw the women in my life, they yelled to get what they want. So that's why all the time I was always yelling. And that's not cool. Nobody wants to hear you while you yelling.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
That's not cool. You got to control yourself. And then you get defensive and you're not hearing anybody and everything's just selfish. That doesn't work. So now that I went through the process and I understand what it entails, I know what to look for next time. I know what to do next time. So when that marriage does come, because I do want it and it's coming for me because I professed it, I will know what to do. But I know we're talking about transformation. I realized my transformation again. It started when I left that divorce because God had to have me alter Himself, and like you said, He had to know that it's me and it's me talking to. Like you said, I'm like, am I tripping? Am I bugging? Am I hearing stuff? No. And he revealed some nasty things about myself, and I'm like, oh, that's not pretty. Everybody wanted to be all pretty. Oh, God told me this, and God came into money. That wasn't my case. I had to see some stuff about me, and I had to work through me. And I loved it. And I'm still loving it, and I'm still going through the process, and I just see myself just evolving, and I see myself turning into the butterfly that I need to be. I love that. I think I put a lot of
glowing.
Right, I put a lot of restrictions on myself, and that's why I didn't blossom when I was supposed to. But I understand too, this is my season.
Right.
So I'm in my season because I have understanding of what I went through. world.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely. And you know what? Knowing your season is very important.
Very.
You know, knowing when it's your time is very important. And then being ready for it. You know, being willing to go through whatever that is you have to grow through
Exactly.
in order to get through. You know, people are always talking about getting through. Well, you got to grow through in order to get through and to where it is you are now being guided.
Right.
But a lot of people don't have that understanding, and we hope that during our dialogue today that we've been able to help someone say, aha, now I understand, I get it. You know, and that's what the sistership is all about, us coming together. And, you know, we've all had different experiences, some good, some bad, some ugly, but we can come together and say, hey, we're still us. And those were things that happened to us. That was not us. You know, that I'm different from what my experiences are. But my experiences enable me to become who I am today, you know, and be okay with that. Love who you are today. Be okay with who you are today. I've written a book and developed a program behind it that's called Meology, Mastering the Science and Fine Art of Self-Love. When we learn to love ourselves, because the whole process begins with us, not with somebody else. It's not what somebody else is trying to direct. And most people who are trying to guide you don't have a sense of where they're going.
Exactly.
But when we turn inward and understand that the power within us has the power to guide us in the right way, and we turn to that power and we trust that power, oh my God, what begins to manifest is awe-inspiring.
Right.
Let me just talk about the radio station for a minute, okay? This is also a growth period for me as well, because Daisy, everybody knows I don't like to be on the radio. Okay, you even know, because you've asked me, Lady K has asked me to be on her show, and I'm like, oh no. So I'm sitting here nervous. Okay, so everybody knows.
You're looking good, girl.
Daisy, you know, everyone's like, oh, you know, no, you need to come out.
You need to do this.
So
Yeah.
this is a growth period for me too, coming out to talk.
Right.
Everybody has seen me behind the scenes. I'm always behind the scenes. I will make it happen. But I don't like to be on camera. I don't like to be in front of an audience. I am...
Past tense.
Well, it's past tense. They're making me come out
It's
of...
all about manifestation right now.
They're making me come out of this box that I'm in.
Good.
Nervous.
Good.
But okay, this is the next step. Let's do it, you know? So with that being said, the Sistahship Talk Show, we have a website, and it's thesistershiptalkshow.com. I think it's under thesistership.com. We have a website, and what that website is, there are, is it 6 of us, Daisy?
Yeah, no, there's
That's it.
There's 6 women on there, okay? We all have different lives, different businesses. We're all doing different things, but we come together as a sistership.
Absolutely.
Kind of like a network, okay? Daisy has her, what's the name of your foundation?
The Heal Thy Body
Heal Thy
Foundation
Body.
is the nonprofit, and then my business is Divinely Connected, where I do my holistic practices. And now I'm working on Simply Daisy Enterprises, where will be the trust to put all those things nice and tucked away there.
That's the umbrella.
That's going to be the umbrella. So this way, if Divinely Connected, the Heal Thy Body goes bankrupt, Daisy Rodriguez never goes bankrupt.
That's right.
That entity goes. Thank you. I know, I'm building myself. I'm so proud of myself.
We have Sharice Lynette. She is based out in North Carolina, I believe.
Yeah, North Carolina.
And she does insurance, and she's also on the website. When you go on the website, you'll see all of us on the website and what we do. You click on our links, and it'll tell you what our businesses are. Mine has Tiffany's Touch, which I am a nail artist. However, I am transitioning because I'm also doing health classes. I was trained and certified by J.J. Smith to do certified classes in the Green Smoothie Cleanse, so I'm more geared into doing focusing on your health.
Right.
So that's why my slogans are there. So everybody has a slogan. Everybody has an AKA. We also have Tiffany Romy Bailey. She is real estate, Barrier Real Estate. So you can go on the website and you can click on her name and you're going to see all about her business.
Right.
Okay. We also have Mika. She is in the process of working on her business. So once she gets everything done, her website will be put up there and her link to where you can get her products and whatever she's selling. I don't want to miss anybody. So who else do we have there? We have Nikki. Oh, we have Nikki. No, but Nikki. No, it's not beat face no more for Nikki.
Oh, no.
Okay. No. Nikki got the boss chick. Okay.
Boss chick.
That's the boss chick, and she's the lead host of the Young Adults. She has a following. And she just came out with a new product line. It's called
Nikki the brand.
Nikki the brand. Fabulous. I was able to
speak. It makes it feels like the Great Gatsby, right? Like, oh my God.
And then it just shines, that little shine that we all like.
Yeah.
So she has a brand. So she has a link that you're going to go on and you can click. You can see. So it's a network. Of women just doing different things. Also, we have Lady K here. She's our special guest today. And you want to talk a little bit more about your business?
Sure. So I have a podcast myself, which is called the Lady K Chat Podcast Show. And on that show, nothing is untouchable. I talk about any and everything. I just bring what people don't want to talk about to the room. So that's just one thing about Kalima. And I also have my main host, which is called Lady K Enterprises, which all my businesses fall under there. And I do everything from admin to finances to also media. Where I teach people how to do their own podcasts and things like that.
Nice. Nice.
All right.
We also added a advisory board. So when you go on the website, you'll see the advisory board members. It's a queenager. We have Sherry Knight, who is Lady Wisdom to us. She brings much knowledge to us, and we appreciate that. We have Daisy, who is also a host, but also part of the board as well. We have Jane Degliato. Degliato. She's also a board member, and we have Miss Hillary Evans, who is a queenager as well. She's also a part of the board member, and we're just growing. Okay, so we're growing. It's a new business. Well, not really new, but we're growing, expanding. It's just a network. So,
evolving.
Yeah, we have a bunch of women who are doing their own thing, and when we come together, we come together. But when we're out, we're focusing on our business, then we come together. So what happens is, if Daisy has an event, and she needs some help, any of us, it should be one or two of us or three of us that shows up for her event. If I have an event, somebody from our team is going to show up for her event because we're networking with each other. And you'll see us all on the website there. And then we also refer people to other places. We also have a fabulous photographer. We refer people to him as well. So it's about building each other up. Sistahship. That's what this is all about, connecting to each other, and the local businesses in the area. So as we grow forward, we will be reaching out to other people as well to be on the show. So I just want to give you a little bit about what the Sistahship was really about.
Excellent.
Okay, and then we have on there a shop where you'll be able to we have the Queenager shirt and mask combo, okay, for the Queenager Wisdom. And we are doing a lot of things. So there's blogs coming out. You'll see some blogs coming out. She talked about, Mama C talked about what did she talk about? She talked about the meology. So there are going to be blogs. There's some people who will be sending blogs in. So there'll be a different person who's featured every week. Possibly every day with their blog and what they do. We also have a Facebook public page where people can comment and talk to us there. Some of us also have fan pages because we all have a different audience. So someone may not connect to me, but they may connect to Simply Daisy. They may connect to Mama C. They may connect to Lady K because Lady K is a part of us too. Okay? And they may also connect to Lady Wisdom. I love Lady Wisdom. Okay? And we all have that different audience, so we all have a different fan page, and you can connect us some kind of way, whatever way you feel connected to one of us, because we all have a different story to tell. that's who you can talk to. We will always talk back to you.
Absolutely.
Again, you can call into the show at 1-888-304-4401. As we go on, I will explain a little bit more about the show. Sherry, do you have anything for us? I know you do, because she always has something, Oh, no. Listen.
I go back, me and Sherry